What's going on, Spittin Chiclets fans? Biz here, and thanks for tuning in to another edition of the ECHL Player Relief Fund interview series brought to you by Boykies. What is Boykies, you ask? Boykies is a delicious air-dried beef biltong. It's a healthier version of jerky, made in the USA with high-quality ingredients. More protein, half the sodium, and zero sugar. Not only does Boykies make an amazing product, but they have been generous enough to donate $10,000 to the ECHL Player Relief Fund and will be offering fans a Biz20 promo code for any product on the Boykies.com website for 20% off. We know times are not easy right now, so we're trying to give you as much content as we can. So we hope you enjoy this interview, and please stay safe, and once again, thank you to Boykies.
Now, it's a great pleasure to bring on our next guest. We tried to do it with him last year. We had a little audio issue. Didn't do the live podcast we wanted to, but I think this is better. We always like the intimate, in-person stuff. This guy played 915 games over 15 seasons with 5 different clubs, including the Blackhawks here in Chicago, where he capped off his career with a Stanley Cup in Boston, I might add. He was also a pretty good face puncher when he played. Nowadays, you can catch him crushing it on TV, breaking down the NHL. He also just celebrated his birthday yesterday, so happy birthday and welcome to Spittin Chiclets, Jamal Mayers.
Wow, I like it. You guys can travel with me. That's an unbelievable introduction. Make me sound like I had a decent career.
Another great guy retiring before his 1,000th game, so he doesn't make his teammates have to buy him some fancy fucking watch. Bunch of greedy fucks. So congratulations. 915 games, man. That's a grind.
It's, you played a similar role in just trying to stay alive and just enjoy the game, and never wanted to, a lot of guys like Mike Keane, who was a kind of a mentor of mine, got to play with him. He was a guy that, always said, play as long as you can. And
how many
that's
cups
what I try to do. 3 with 3 different teams. Very few guys have done that.
Yeah, that's very true. Oh, that's pretty sick. So you came in right away, learned or knew the type of player you were going to be able to have a long career? A guy like that? Or were you thinking more offensive and it changed?
Yeah, honestly, I came in college. I had over a point a game, and you realize quickly playing in the minors that it wasn't going to happen for me. At the time, Mike Keenan was a coach with the Blues. They had an older team. For me to make the lineup, Greg Gilbert was our coach, and he basically said to me, you're not going to play in the top 6. You're going to have to kill penalties, take faceoffs, stick up for your teammates. I'd never been in a fight on the ice ever.
Really?
I played college hockey and got points.
Right, yeah,
and, I could hit and was physical, and when you do that, it comes to you. And I had to learn on the job, which wasn't fun.
So it's funny, we bring up a lot of times that there's guys who could have had NHL careers if they were willing to change their game. It's not that easy to do. I mean, forget just going into having to fight more, but the whole ability to just know you're not going to get chances to score, and it just changes your mindset. So good for you for doing that, or else you probably wouldn't have had the career you ended up having.
And then you realize, it's a good point. I think a lot of young guys get stuck in that. It must be tough even more today, because these younger players, they get paid after their entry level, and then they see their peers that they realize, man, I was better than him in junior or college or whatever, and they have a real tough time accepting whatever role they're being given. So
it's an ego thing.
That's got to be it, right? You see your teammates, but for me, I'll be honest with you, it had a lot to do with the money. It was either make $45,000 in Worcester or make $450. It was pretty simple for me. So,
and we talk about putting on that mask. Like, you don't have a mean bone in your body off the ice, and you're one guy who you kind of had to, do it because. And did you hate doing it?
Honestly, it got harder when I got older. As you know, Biz, you had to fight. I never really understood for guys who had to fight when they weren't angry. That to me had to be the hardest thing for guys to do. And for me, I was more fighting as a reaction to something that happened on the ice or to get your team going. Somehow I can manufacture some type of emotional attachment to it. Fighting when you're not angry was tough. As I got older, into my 30s, I was just hanging on, and I was fighting more than even in my 20s. In my late 30s, fighting was tough. I had young kids. I had daughters at the game.
Mindset.
It changed everything, because I was like, I don't want to get knocked out at the game tonight. They're watching. My kids are at warm up, watching warm up.
Yeah. When I was in Pittsburgh, one of my preseason games was against Toronto, and he's fucking, at that point he'd played 8-9 years with St. Louis, and then it was just when you came over to Toronto. And I think that was your first year with the Leafs.
It was.
So we're in a face-off, and I'm like, that's my job.
Yep,
I'm trying to make a name for myself. And I tap him, and this guy's like, man, it's fucking preseason. It's my 9th year. Get away from me. But I was egging him on enough where he was with a new team where he probably felt like, fuck, this asshole's calling me out. So we ended up going.
Really?
But I could just tell where you were like,
Dude,
fuck
come
off,
on.
you loser.
The documentary, which one was it where McGrattan was in it a lot? It was on Netflix.
Ice Guardians.
Ice Guardians. That was, I knew it, like you just mentioned, but watching that and then really seeing guys talk about the night before stuff or the pregame nap when you don't even dislike the guy, you're not mad about anything, it's like that must have been told him near impossible. It's just that's a tough way to live. So,
yeah, I don't know how those guys did it. Fortunately, like I said, for me it was more of a reactionary type of thing.
Honorable.
But at the end of your career, for sure, you're looking at the lineup. I mean, I was not a heavyweight, but I was looking at who are those second tier guys that I may have to fight. Are they righty, lefties? And then it got worse because then you watch them on tape. You're like, oh, this guy's a monster.
God, this guy's throwing
I don't want to watch. Why did I even look at that video?
Look at it like shit. Am I Larry Holmes or a hockey player? Over here?
Hey, then you'd see guys that that fought that didn't mind getting hit. I was like, what's the point of that? I did not want to get hit. I was strong enough that I could hold guys off and punch when I wanted to punch. In no means or do I take any shame in the fact that I was going to punch when I wanted to punch.
So who won out of you two? Who won that?
I would
tilt?
say it was even.
Yeah.
Whatever. We'll just call it a draw. We don't
I'm
have to
sure.
say
I'm sure I got
just,
taken to me a little bit.
Figured people listening would want to know. I certainly did.
It's probably on YouTube somewhere.
Yeah.
You mentioned Western University. Let's go back to your college days. Your point of game guy. You must have been loving life.
Oh, it was great. I went as a 17-year-old, played junior in Toronto. I'm from Toronto, grew up there, and then played for Thornhill Thunderbirds. We had 11 guys get full ride from that team. We had a pretty decent team. It was us and Wexford at the time. Jeff O'Neill got drafted.
JHL or no?
I think they changed the name over the years. Thornhill Thunderbirds.
Met
was,
JHL, it says on here.
Yeah. Jeff O'Neill was a 15-year-old, led our team in scoring. I was 16, was second. Not a big deal.
That's a perfect drop right there. Perfect drop. So then were there other schools in the mix? Or
Actually, pretty funny story. So I grew up in a single-parent home with my mom and my brother, and so we didn't. I like to say we didn't redecorate. We moved a lot, just with my mom carrying 2 and 3 jobs at times. So if you can fast forward to I'm 17, I've got Western Michigan. I'm in my second year junior because I didn't play midget, and I've got a college coach in my living room. Although at that time I started getting letters from Michigan and all these bigger schools, Denver. He sat there and said, we want to offer you a full ride. And my mom stood up and shook his hand and said, "We'll see you in September." And they laughed. And I said, "What are you talking about? I don't know if I want to go there." That man just stood in my living room and told me, he's going to pay for your education for 4 years. That's where you're going.
No way.
Yeah, and that was the end of it. So.
She's like, we're not even risking something happening. You're taking that right now.
Exactly. So
wow.
Sometimes I would say most of the time your parents know what's best, and it worked out. So
Well, you brought it up. I want your mother. You single family home. You said
incredible.
or single. Her having to get you to hockey and all that. How did she balance that?
Dude, we didn't even have a car, so taking the TTC, the transit system, her carrying my bag, schlepping through snowstorms. Geez, man, just the battle of having to have two
she's
jobs.
like, not to be like corny, she's your like hero.
Yeah,
What she
absolutely. I
did
didn't
for
play
you.
hockey when I was 10 because my brother is 6 years older. He was 16, playing North Toronto AA. And he realized I went to every game. I was cheering for him, and then you could tell I missed the game, so he quit hockey the next year so I could play. And
Oh man,
yeah,
really?
so
Oh.
kind of feeds into what I'm doing now in the community and thinking projects I
great
have
story.
going on. So it's
Well, do you want to talk about those quick while you said it?
yeah, sure. I work for the Hawks as community liaison, which sounds I didn't want them.
Sounds cushy.
Doesn't it? Doesn't it?
You sound like you just be kicking it like we are on Chiclets.
Yeah,
I love it.
Do a shot in the private boxes.
Yeah. So the organization, it comes down from Rocky and John and what they want to do as far as giving back to the community. And with the practice facility, we have a program called GOAL, which stands for Get Out and Learn. We visit 150 schools, which over 100,000 kids get introduced to hockey in their phys ed class, ball hockey. Take the ice component out of it. Let's not confuse them.
Learn the game.
Let them learn the game and have an appetite for it. From there, we have a thing called First Ride, where we then bus those same kids, kind of trying to eliminate all the obstacles. So we go get them. We bring them to the facility. They get to learn how to skate if they have an appetite for it and they like it there. And also, part of that is the STEM program, which is science, technology, engineering, and math. And they get to learn about how it relates to hockey up in the classroom. Then the other component is they're on the ice skating. And if there's kids in that group that are interested, they can do little Blackhawks for less than $100. They can get 5 lessons, full gear, head to toe.
Gear given to them.
Yeah, full gear, head to toe.
That's a huge thing, dude.
So
and it's 150 kids?
150 schools,
150
over 100,000 kids a year that we do the goal program
That's
with.
awesome.
So I'm not sure the exact numbers for the first stride or the...
or how far it goes.
Just a matter of time before an NHLer pops
Yeah,
out of one of these programs.
It's crazy to think, like, could you possibly get one? Why not, right? At the end of the day, you're introducing kids that are unbelievably athletic. There's been countless examples, and we did a couple stories where we followed a couple kids that for some reason they just took to it, and they're actually playing on legit teams now in Chicago from this program. So it's exciting. It's something that I probably, wouldn't do it as often as I do, but I get a lot of it's so rewarding to see. Think about it. If the Blackhawks, with their success in the last 10 years, have pretty much saturated all the kids that were 5 years old to 15, if they were ever interested in hockey, 3 championships in their youth, that would be the time you get them. Let's say you have 70% of those kids that actually tried hockey at some point. Well, if you want to grow as an organization, where are you going to go? There's a huge Hispanic and Black population in the Chicagoland area. You've got to engage them. You've got to make them a part of it. You got to make them feel like it's possibly for them. So I think when there's more people that visually look like them, then they think it's possible. I mean, there's 2 dynamics. There's the typical dynamic in the Black community saying it's not for us, blah, blah, blah. So you're fighting against that, and you're also fighting against the regular establishment saying that it may not be for them. So there's a huge opportunity there. I'm part of being on the, just the start of it, but give the Hawks credit.
You're a great role model for it.
I've actually been asked before, like, why aren't there more Black hockey players? I'm like, well, because they don't play, because Black people are the best athletes, and so if all of them played,
Give them the resources.
Black people, they're the best athletes. It's just incredible. So the reason that you don't see it is because kids don't play it, and it's just great to hear that you guys are doing that, because that's an awesome program.
Another thing too, I mean, of course, with your upbringing as well, like some of these kids are going through tough times and tough family situations. So not only on the hockey aspect of it, you're probably just the interaction alone is probably big to them.
And that's it. You think about it, Biz. If you see a kid, if you're 12 years old, or let's say 10 years old, and you go to your friend's house, and because of your hockey, you have this friend whose dad's an architect, and you see him working away, and I envision that kid going, "Hey, what's your dad doing?" Well, he actually draws buildings for a living. Oh, and what do you have to do that? They get in a conversation, he realizes, oh, I'm good at math, I like to draw. All of a sudden, there's some of these kids in Chicago that live a mile away in these terrible parts of the city that have never been downtown. They've never seen the beach. Yeah. They've never been a mile away. Their world is so small, and they think that's where they're going to end up. They don't see the possibilities for themselves, right? So I think if this could be a vehicle to get them out of that, it's not really about the hockey. It's about making them believe in themselves and showing them that there's something else.
There's more out there, man. Yeah, that's
very cool. Wow, that was good to hear about all that.
That's
especially with what you went through growing up. It makes it so relevant. You know exactly what it's like. That's just awesome to hear. I mean, was this kind of your idea? Like, or did they know right away when you retired he'd be perfect for this?
Well, they had already started these programs, and I think I've just help be a face of it.
Yep.
And I kind of make a joke with my wife and say, playing for 15 years, playing as a kid, it's not like being half Black was looked at like, oh, that's a great thing. This is awesome.
This is
I'm like, for once, it's a positive. I'm going to take advantage of this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We got to talk about St. Louis. Of course, now that they've won, you spent a majority of your career there.
That's what I think of you as, a Blue. Sorry.
A Blue, for
sure.
sure.
When I think of your career, I think of you in the Blues uni.
Yeah, we'll post it. When we post our picture of this episode, it's going to be in a Blues jersey. Talk about your time there, how often you get back. I'm sure you keep in touch with a lot of your teammates from there.
Sure, yeah. I grew up there. I was there from 21 to 35, and so I was with the organization for 12 years, played up there for 10. Met my wife there. We still live there. So I travel back and forth to do the TV for the Hawks and stuff in the community. So certainly was happy for the organization and the people around it. Still, I still keep in touch with Craig Conroy to Prongs to Jamie McLennan to any number of guys that have retired there. It's one outside of Toronto and Montreal. It might have one of the biggest alumni that stayed in that area. No one's from there really, not until recently. So it's a great town. It's not too big. Great schools, good community. They've been waiting a long time. I was happy for, I think some of the alumni thought they won. But
you chirping Chaser right now?
Yeah.
They know who they are.
Some watchmakers might have thought they won too.
Larry Flowers, he's like a. Now, mind you, he did take him to that bar, which led to their goal song. But yes, I think he thought he was going to get his name engraved.
Yeah.
So shout out to our boy Larry Flowers.
Mention Prongs, dude. We hear he's not the one, but a hotto in practice, tough guy all the time. What was it like playing with him? What was he like in the room?
Oh, he was great. He was always serious though. So like we were roommates, and it would be funny. He'd be the captain of the room, or in the room it would be fine. We one-on-one. We walk out of the room, and I'm like, "What just happened?" So he'd like to be hard on guys. You have to figure your way how you're going to navigate around that and give it back to him too. But he was a competitor. He would give it to you in the corners in practice. You just have to give it right back to him.
So you're saying he would essentially like maybe snap on the group and maybe even fucking throw you under the bus, and then the minute you leave the rink, he's like, "Hey man, where are we going for lunch?"
Pretty much.
Switch?
Yeah, I think that he was such an ultra competitor, and I've started to watch him. And honestly, I think he became friends a lot of times with the goalies because he never really felt like he had to like compete with them on the ice. I think he was always thinking ahead. I might have to play against this guy. I want to have him. I want to have the mental edge on him.
Wow.
I remember in the locker room.
I don't know. I haven't talked to him
Even
about
guys
it.
he was playing with. We're going to get him on eventually, but I would love to pick this guy's brain because he was a very strong personality, and some of his teammates who were leaders and on his team, maybe they weren't fans of him, and he had a certain way about it. But I mean, he backed it up with his play.
He's so good that
he knows he was a winner.
We would joke with him though that he would get frustrated with his teammates, and then me and Noodles would say to him, Prongs, we're trying. Guys don't see the game the way you see it.
Yeah,
like you're on another level. Like we're
those great players will say, "Why weren't you right here?" I'm like, dude, what? I didn't even. Dude, you're seeing 7 moves ahead, buddy. I was just trying to get up the ice. Like,
but the year he won MVP, I've
Oh my
never
God.
seen someone control a game like he did. Guys would try to dump the puck in. You know how D are good at knocking pucks down on chips. He would knock it down right on the stick of our forwards going the other way. Not just knock it down, like direct it toward them on purpose, almost like a pass.
He was such a presence too. He would be like even backing up in the neutral, and he'd just snap a rocket tape to tape cross ice, and he just whenever he had the puck, he might have had the most poise I ever saw like a defenseman have. He was just like not even moving that fast and just looking people off. I loved watching that guy play, and then he was mean as shit too.
Or if he didn't like when the forwards took off and didn't come back,
fuck off.
he just iced it on goal, right from like just past the goal line.
He put it on net a lot, actually.
Right on that. He's basically saying, "Get back if you want
He
the
used to
puck." Come back.
practice it apparently in junior, where he would do the fake dump-ins, and then he would put it on net, and sometimes he would score. He'd catch a goalie sleeping. The goalie comes out to try to stop it.
So we did some digging, and we talked to you prior, but like apparently in 2001 you guys swept Dallas and got 3 days off in St. Louis. Something funny happened that.
Well, not really. Well, what happened was
there?
Joel gave us 3 days off, and I was 25 or 24. So what did I do? I flew home to Toronto and partied for 3 days, and in between 2 series. So my buddies always bring that up. A little different time back then. I don't think the guys have as much fun as we did. Fortunately, I had a good conference final as well, but
Did they
just
know
a
you
different
left?
time. I think guys could go wherever they want.
Yeah.
Not very few guys left. I would
nuts.
imagine.
Glenville
but-
probably went to Vegas.
exactly.
Santa Anita.
Any horse races?
Oh, I'm not into the ponies. I'm not really much of a gambler, but
Smart.
that'd be just another vice I can't add anymore.
Yeah, tell me about it. Big Walt, another
Oh,
name.
Big
Another
Walt.
name. I grew up with Walt. Our dads were good buddies back then. Our mothers were pregnant at the same time. I was born like 2 months after him, so we go way back. He's a savage, absolute savage. So I can't imagine what it was like in the room with him as well, but just anywhere with Walt.
Talk about loving the action.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Holy
We had
All kinds of
there's a
action.
Super Bowl party we had at his house, and he had a little wager, might be over 6 figures, and the party scratched the record when we had to get out of there because he was not happy. But there's nobody that treated the trainers, like the staff and the people around the game better. I learned a lot from him, even though he's only not even 2 years older than me, a year and a half older. But always looked up to him. He was a guy who played the game the right way, and he's old school. Look at his sons, the success they're having. It's not by accident.
It's great to see. Yeah,
That's awesome, man. That is sick.
Let's talk about Toronto and just like the pressure of playing there. I forget if we were talking about it recently, but just like from you going to a fairly small market in St. Louis to Toronto, how overwhelming was it? And you were kind of going back. You were going back home.
Yeah, it was an awful experience for me.
Really?
Well, I didn't get along with Ron Wilson, and I didn't play well, and I didn't get along with him, and so. You had your friends who didn't really see you play as much, thought you were a decent player, third line guy, kill penalties, 10 to 15 goals a year, fight once in a while, and then you're not playing, or you're playing we were terrible. And so that made it a really tough experience. Plus I always felt like I had to, people were reaching out to you and you're like, man, he was a good guy to me. I got to help him out, get him tickets. I got to go meet him after the game. And so it pulled you in a lot of directions being there. And then Ron Wilson I didn't play the second year there. I was healthy scratched for the first 11 games. We were 0-9-2. Never changed the lineup. So I remember telling the trainer,
you're buried at that point.
Oh yeah. So I asked the trainers.
I can't get in now.
Yeah. I tell the trainers, I said, what time does he get in? And they said, well, he gets in around 7:30. So I said to my wife, okay, for the next 2 weeks, I'm leaving the house at 6:45, because the way that you had to walk through the room, you had to go through the gym to get to the room.
Show him you want it.
So I'm like, you're not gonna, I'm gonna show him that you're not gonna break me. I'm gonna work my way out of it. So by the time he came in at 7:15, 7:30, I was like halfway through a workout. So I just wanted him to know that he wasn't gonna break me. And I give Berkey credit. He tried to find a way to get me out of there as soon as he could, and it wasn't fitting for whatever reason. That happens. It's not personal. It just was time to go.
Any closed door meeting? Did you call him in and say, hey?
Oh yeah,
and
several
what
times.
was his answer?
I just was trying to get these younger guys in the lineup. Didn't like how I was playing, and
in practice,
there's not much you can do, right? If he doesn't believe in you and doesn't want you to put you in there, some of it's on me. You got to play better. I always say that. Walt's favorite line is, these young guys want to make more and play more than play better. So I take that adage to heart, and I put a lot of it on myself.
And then you finished your career with Calgary. You ended up going to San Jose, and then of course finishing Chicago and winning a Stanley Cup. Calgary. What type of place was that?
Cowtown was fun. Maybe a little too much fun. I got traded from Toronto, so my family stayed in Toronto. I went to Calgary. We just barely missed the playoffs, but it was cool to play with Iggy. I sat beside him in the room. It's unfortunate.
Did you guys shave each other's head?
Yeah. I used to joke that I said, Iggy, do you mind getting off the bus before me? And he's like, why? Because I'm sick of the reporters and the fans saying, The
last few years, the NHL's big initiative of it has been hockey is it for everyone. You played hockey in the 1990s, man. You played college in the States. I'm imagining you went through your fair share of shit. What kind of shit did you have to deal with as a minority player? How
you know
bad
what?
Did it get?
Honestly, what I did love about the NHL, when you're a competitor within that locker room, and that goes for all 5 teams that I played on, as long as you do your job and you're a guy who cares about the team first, that's where you're going to gain your respect. And if you're a dick and you're not a team guy, that has way more negative consequences other than the color of your skin. Now, growing up and playing college, were there instances and things? Oh yeah, anything and any number of things that you can think of have happened. But I learned from a young age from my mom that there's no sense in getting frustrated and trying to take a penalty or go score more goals.
It's just going to be adverse. You're going to have to deal with.
Yeah, it's just part of what you're going to have to do. If you're going to play, you're going to have to suck it up and find a way to get it done. And you can't change people. And that's one thing I think I realized when I got into like 15, 16, 17. I kind of felt this pressure to be an example of, okay, this is your perception of what black people are like is one thing. It's my job to change your mind. No, it's not. No, I'm just going to be myself. And if that's,
you don't represent.
I'm not going to your bigotry or your thoughts in your head are your own. I'm just going to be myself.
As long as you know what's going on with the Blackhawks, that's kind of your job description. Where I'm like, wait, what's the Sharks power play?
Exactly.
Try doing it when you win.
Or there'll be guys that would like text me, the puck didn't go off my stick. Did you watch? I'm like, I saw the highlight once.
Yeah, bro. Like, I have no idea.
Yeah, I didn't get a DVR recheck on
How about Sharpie's transition?
Oh,
He's
rock star.
incredible.
Oh,
Yeah,
He
forget.
just stepped right
some
in.
guys just get it all, like the looks,
know.
the hair, the money.
He's got a weapon on him too.
yeah, he is. He's something. He's been killing it lately.
I mean, he stepped into the big, like, you know, the biggest role. I mean, the playoffs, the and national games, and it was like right away,
one-on-one with
like,
Tirico.
I think, like, yeah, he did do that. I think he at the beginning he was like a little like shy, and then all of a sudden it like clicked, and he was just like, this guy's dominating. So
You know what about him? And I have to give him credit. That guy, he studied it. He took notes. He watched. He took from people that he liked. In like a matter of 5 months, I would watch him and he'd ask questions. He'd be like, "What are you doing here?" And how are you? And he
Always
he would-
ask questions.
Always asking questions.
Why are you
and
doing that?
Yeah, figuring out how
There
he would
might
like.
be a closed door, but you ask the question. Okay, whatever. There was nothing there. Ask more.
Yeah, exactly.
Figure things out.
did he do any Blackhawks stuff before that, or was that his first thing?
That was his first. He went. He did 10 games Blackhawks, and then I think he went right.
So you
to-
know, part of it, being Patrick Sharp, the career he had, the 3-time Stanley Cup champion. Let's not kid ourselves. He doesn't look like that. He's not getting that as his first game.
exactly.
That's
Like,
sometimes you got to know when
no.
you're that fucking good
Yeah.
looking, you're gonna get some chances that like
Well.
we maybe not. But I still think then he just started crushing it. So it's good to see. We got to get him on here. Actually,
Oh, absolutely.
We
No.
had something. He was gonna come to Boston or something. We got to.
Oh, I was doing a Q&J late night one night. He was listening, and he was like, dude, I was like, well, you got to come on the pod. He was like chirping me about it, so we definitely got to get him on.
Nice.
And,
Who were some of your favorite teammates here in Chicago? And guys maybe you still hang around with locally.
And what was that celebration like?
How
How hard?
stupid.
How many days in a row did you get after it?
7.
Okay.
And with
You
the
have
young
to stop
family,
it.
we had we partied for 7 straight days, and then on that 7th day was the parade, and we have to go back to St. Louis. And my wife was like, "Can we go home after the parade?" And I said, "Come on, one more night." And she gave me like a side eye look, and I knew like, okay, that's enough. It's time to go. And we
Like any single wife, the first week, at some point, a wife's gonna be like, "You won the cup. Let's go."
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
the kid needs a diaper change. Let's go.
I did take the day after we won. I did take my daughters because I promised them. I took them to American Girl Doll or whatever. So
Nice.
That was part of the arrangement.
That
if
was
you won the cup.
That was the deal. That when we're done, because it's a lot of going
not
on.
around.
Yeah, not around. So that was the deal.
What'd you do
But
your
we
day with it?
Took it back to St. Louis. Just my little guy was 6 months at the time, and going back to Toronto would have been impossible. So I was grateful. A lot of my friends and family came in from Toronto and went to Children's Hospital for a couple of hours. Had a little bit of a pub crawl.
Nice.
Ended up with a big party that night, and it's by the time midnight comes, I don't know if the rules have changed or maybe just for me, but got to give the cup back at midnight. It was It was a ton of fun and drinking out of it, all the things that you can imagine. We had a great time.
I kind of I'm interested to ask former players that are like still shredded after they retired. Do you go to the gym a lot? Like
This is not shredded.
well, fuck, then you're just a specimen because I'll tell you right now, you look pretty good. Fuck, you haven't played hockey in how many years?
Yeah, this is my 7th year. Crazy, but
Crazy how quick. This is it was 4 years for me. September, I was like, that was 4 years. I was like, I feel like I played last year.
That's crazy.
It's wild. But
We had one of your other Blackhawks teammates on the other day, Duncan Keith. Well, like he doesn't talk much, as you know. He come in. We were like
I was blown away.
it was a marvel, an unreal interview. What was he like playing with? And I mean, he's an unreal guy in the room. Everyone's been saying.
Oh yeah, he's awesome. He's got his quirkiness about him. I wish I would have known before. I would have told you guys to ask about his masks that he had made.
Okay, no, but so this is perfect.
There
Now
you
you're
go.
going to tell
Yeah,
the
you
story.
Oh, okay, so he shows us his video of these masks. He'll go to like Walgreens random. He got professionally made, cost like $5,000. These masks that cover his entire face that make him look like he's 75, 80 years old. So and sleeves that go up to his like forearm. So
Like
he's got a shirt
Jackass.
on. And he'll walk into the Walgreens and like bouncing around, and people are like looking at him like, but there's no camera crew following him. He's just doing this for
well,
fun.
he probably gets recognized everywhere here.
He's probably
He's like, I'm gonna go out and about and look
It's
like
probably like his drug. Like that's
his-
like trying to put my mask on.
a chance to go out and like be normal.
That's his chance to just go around and fuck around in an everyday society.
Oh my God, that's
I texted
hilarious.
with James Wisniewski too. I was like, hey, anything about Keith? He goes, oh yeah, he used to like watch like movies on serial killers. He's nuts. I was like, I forgot to ask him that one.
So
too.
Duncan Keith is basically a member of Jackass. We just found out.
But he's you guys talked to him. He's a smart guy.
Dude,
he's always thinking about other ways to get better. Always, reading up on the newest nutrition thing and what to do. And he's, when I retired, he's right away he's asking questions about, what were you interested in? My advice to him was that, you're not going to have to work, obviously, but talk to the people, all these people that we get to meet that love the game, that are around the game, get their cards, talk to them, take them to lunch while you're playing, and stay engaged with these guys. If you're interested in something, I don't know what it is, but do it while you're playing.
He'll do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
When you get HOF after your signature, doors open.
Has he ever done the mask thing with other guys in presence, or
No.
It's always been just him.
You guys should video that. I want to see.
Oh,
that.
I would
let us
love
do
to
that?
if you would let us do a content piece.
That would be
He
hilarious.
starts jogging across the street. They're like, that
Yeah.
guy's a freak of nature.
Dirty
How
Grant.
old he is. He can move like that.
It's like, oh, it's Dirty Grandpa. It's like, oh, no, it's just Duncan Keith.
Oh,
What else
dude.
you got?
That's
Already
great.
anything else written down?
Billy Guerin was another name that you mentioned you play with. He's pretty similar to Walt, no?
awesome guy. Like when he came to our team in St. Louis, he's one of the guys that, even though they're only a few years older, looking up to them and the accomplishments that they have and the way he carried himself and just ultimate teammates. Was I tell you the story about what happened when we were in Columbus? Him and Dougie Waite. So I'm out on the ice doing extra stuff, skating, and I come in and there's a tiny table there. It looks like a picnic table with a lunch for one for Jammer with one table setting and everything. And I'm like, I guess no one wants to eat lunch with me today. I don't know what's going on. And I'm looking, they're like, everyone's watching me, and I'm looking around. They're like, you don't notice? And I'm like, what are you talking about? They're like, look under the table. Well, at that time, I was one of the only guys started wearing the big checkered gingham dress shirts.
Yeah.
They'd just come out. This is like in the early 2000s. They would always make fun of me. I'm like, don't worry, you guys will be wearing these in a couple of years. But they got me because I look under the table. They had tied my dress shirt around the table.
It was the tablecloth.
The tablecloth was my dress shirt. And
So it looked like a
I
picnic
thought
table.
they were ripping on me because I was going to eat by myself. They were like, you're an idiot. That's your dress shirt.
Unfucking believable.
That's
Oh,
perfect.
that's classic.
Those
What
two
about,
together must have been so
what
good.
about Matt Stajan telling me to bring up the Brett Hall story
Oh, jeez.
with the stick rack?
Oh, well, he probably would have done this to you if you were right-handed, but he just grabbed my stick off the rack and looked at my curve and said, "No wonder," and threw it on the ground.
Hall's a bit of a bully, wasn't he?
Hilarious.
He's the biggest bully in the league. He's like the old Geno Malkin.
That's great.
Any other
No
Hall
wonder,
stories?
nothing else. That's
I didn't play with him very long, but just being around those types of guys, Al McInnes, and I've been very fortunate playing with some Hall of Famers, and just the way they carry themselves and the way that they are. I feel very lucky.
Are you looking to get into a front office at any point? Or you all set with that? Or
Not into scouting,
Yeah,
but being
yeah.
a part of helping shape things is interesting.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think that coaching is probably not in my cards, just because of the time that it takes up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I
and you get young
have a young
kids.
family,
Yeah.
and kids 14, daughters 14 and 12, and my little gal will be 7 next month. So they're just so busy. I feel like playing was selfish, and it
Yeah.
feels like coaching would be even worse because they're at the rink 7 in the morning. They don't leave till 11 at night.
travel.
That's a lot. But although that would be, I think, the most rewarding, the most fun to be back into it. But management one day would be great.
The Ron Wilson healthy scratch story with Vesa Toskala. Can we get that one?
So this is actually, they had already known they traded us to Calgary for Dion Phaneuf. There was a group of us staging and otherwise. So Wilson comes in and he knows he's already traded us. We don't know. We got to play Vancouver that night, and just lays into every single guy that's getting traded.
Wait, you were already traded and played?
No.
Wait.
Well, then he knew we were traded.
I'm sorry.
We didn't know till we got traded the next day.
Oh, he decided one last.
He's just gonna give it to us. So he goes around, obviously rips on me, and he did say that I was the worst defensive player in the NHL the last 3 years. Which, right after the meeting,
Like Whitney's in
Luke
the
Shen
league.
comes up to me. He's like, "You're the worst player." He's 18, 19. You're the worst player in the league. I'm like, no. Anyway, it was pretty funny.
He didn't even know. He's
No.
like,
So gullible.
So it was pretty funny. And then, so what happened was he had calculated that we were playing Luongo, and Vesa was having a tough start. And so Vesa was playing against Luongo, and he had done the math. If we wanted to win 3-2, we could only allow 16 shots on goal based on how many goals Vesa's allowed in on based off his
Save percentage.
Yeah, save percentage. And that we had to get something like 48 shots based on our inability to score. So imagine poor Vesa sitting there going,
He said this before the game.
yeah. Poor Vesa sitting there going, oh, I really feel like playing tonight.
Oh my God, dude. And then you guys are like, wait, we need 48 shots?
Exactly.
Everyone's got the pressure on him.
Exactly.
Fuck, buddy. This is great.
cutthroat.
I can't believe. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Biz.
Well, there was a couple more we had
Yeah.
written down.
Yeah.
The Courtnall story.
Oh, yeah. This is my first ever road trip. I get called up after playing my first 6 games. My first year out of college, played 6 games in the minors. I get called up. Mike Keenan's the coach. And we're traveling around. I forget where we were going. I think it was Vancouver out west. So it was like a 5 or 6 day trip. And like 5 days into it, I'm like, I don't understand why my bag is so heavy. Come to find out, Courtnall had slipped in 3 or 4 10-pound plates. You know how when you're younger, you don't open your bag. You don't actually unpack.
Oh, yeah. You just like.
It just
open
live out of the bag.
Yeah.
And I didn't know, but under all my
pounds.
stuff was 40 pounds of stuff, of weights that I had been carrying around for 5 days, and I had no
You're
clue.
like, what is in this
They were
thing?
probably waiting for this. This idiot has no idea that he's
You didn't want to. They probably thought you knew and didn't want to give the reaction.
exactly.
No, you're just like bent. You're just curling your bag. They're like, what's wrong
Well,
with
now
this
speaking
guy?
of reaction, though, at rookie party one year in Toronto, you got staged and said you got pretty heated. You ended up getting shoe checked a few times.
Oh yes,
Like he fucking
Oh,
snapped.
dude.
I did
if,
snap.
If it's that many times, I mean, how
I
many?
got shoe checked. It was fine, no big deal.
Yeah.
But I'm also wearing $1,000.
How are you?
You know,
How
Gucci.
are you? Louis
Everybody's gonna be
Vuittons.
wearing-
Which is fine.
Nice league.
My fault. I want to wear them. Got to do it. They shoe checked me. Ha, funny. They did it again, and so then I snapped, and then I said, you guys wanted a
Did you
reaction.
get up on the table?
I didn't get on the table. I made me shake the table a little bit and told them, you guys wanted a reaction. Here's your reaction. And I was on a mission to find out who did it.
Who
So,
was there
did
a
you find
third?
out?
no, they ended up. I think they ended up making the Russian kid do it.
There was no third time up.
No,
third shoe.
no.
check. You made that clear.
Yeah, I can't believe I waited this long. Obviously a fighter in the NHL. Who's the worst beating you took from, and who was it from?
Besides Biz, Brad May, I always thought was really tough to fight
Yeah.
because
Oh,
he
Mayday.
didn't care if he got hit.
Yeah,
He was punching with both hands, and he would swing you around like on a carousel. And then at any moment, he would switch hands and catch you going the other way. So I always felt it was tough fighting a guy like him. But I don't know how you felt, Biz, but anytime you fought a guy that wasn't necessarily a fighter, but you had to go fight him because he had done something in the game, but he could be like a stocky kid. You don't even know if he knows how to fight. But those guys always made me nervous because you figure like they're scared. They don't know how to defend themselves, and they're just going to be swinging.
Yeah, their instincts take over.
Yeah,
instead
then
of
it's
what
like
their
that could be
abilities are.
dangerous.
Shooting pucks at Detroit 2013, White
Oh yeah,
Carlo.
I saw that one.
Yeah, so Joel had me take every one. I didn't play any games.
Joel Quenneville?
Yeah.
I was the same way with Tip. Even though I wasn't playing,
Yeah.
go in the locker room, be with the guys.
You with the guys. So they wanted me around. I don't know if it was an accident, but good guy in the room. Maybe should have stayed there, but that was my role at that time. But so I figured we were down 3-1 to Detroit in the second round, the year we won. And we were all going around telling stories about, how we can come back. And I was just frustrated. Hadn't been in and realized that this could be the end. We're going to lose to Detroit. So in that warm-up, I decided I wasn't going to participate in warm-up. I took about 25 pucks, and I shot them down on their goal the entire warm-up.
With goalies in net.
To Detroit's net. I was firing pucks down at them, trying to disrupt
that's
their
pissing them
2-on-1,
off.
disrupt their thing, disrupt whatever they were doing, or start something. I didn't care. I was going to do something to
were you
just
trying
to
to get
mix
yourself
up.
fight up to in a bit?
Just switch them out.
Yes, just to
switch
do
them
something.
out.
Yeah,
I felt like
yeah.
I'm not playing. I can't do anything, and this is what I'm going to do. So,
That's great.
and then we ended up winning that game. I get fined by the league, of course, because you can't do that for the whole warm up. But I didn't have to pay it because I didn't play the next year. So I won that one.
Unreal. They didn't take it out of your playoff bonus.
No.
Perfect.
So explain how that happens? Like what?
I'll tell you what. If I saw a guy shooting
Oh,
pucks
exactly.
Over
on
and
my
over,
goalie,
I'd be like-
there'd be a Donnybrook.
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
have to
So
at
that's
some
my
point.
point. So the next warm up, I had played with Carlo Koliakovo and Ian White, in Toronto, and I'm standing at the center ice, and I'm saying, "You guys are a bunch of pussies. Not one guy slashed me, cross-checked me, shot a puck at me, nothing. I shot 25 pucks at your goalie during warm-up." And I go, "We're gonna come back against you guys."
Absolutely.
You know?
That series, they were up 3-1.
Yeah, we ended up.
They didn't know you got that, in that cup run. You were ever down. That's all. So Game 7 was where in that series?
In Chicago.
Was
We
that
ended- when Chalmerson won it in overtime, but they called a penalty. We actually won, and then Siebes ended up winning it.
Oh, that's
So
right, I
that
remember
wasn't the
that.
series when Cronwall knocked out Havlet, right? Remember when
No,
that
that's
was
in 2010.
Okay. So Detroit and Chicago, yeah, you guys battled. Well,
I
dude,
got one more. Just I hate this. I used to ask it all the time. But you are a fighter. If I don't ask, I'll feel like a dummy. Was there anyone you were afraid of? What you did you go a pro beat? Did you guys cross paths?
No, different
Okay,
stratosphere.
It's been a long week. I can't
No, that
put
was-
in his career.
You know, I never. That was not my fight. Those heavyweight guys,
Yeah,
and you know,
okay.
even when Biz wanted to fight me, I was like, this could not go well for me. But no, I definitely was more of a middleweight type of fighter.
No, I definitely. I remember. I certainly saw most of your scrims.
Bud, we're so happy we got to get this
Yeah.
live. Sorry about fucking you up at that live show in
No,
Chicago last year.
So pumped for your guys' success. This is, you know what it is. At the end of the day, we're all hockey guys. Everyone, you know, we have trouble showing personality and doing your thing. You guys are 1,000% authentic, and that's why you've had the success you've had. And you know, great job. Keep it going.
Thank you
Thanks,
for the
man.
great
Thank you
stroke
very
off there.
much.
Nice.
I needed that.
Well, we hope you guys enjoyed that interview. Thanks again to Boinkies for their support of Spittin Chiclets and the ECHL Player Relief Fund. Make sure to check out boinkies.com and enter promo code BIZ20 for 20% off all their products. We out.